All right, cool. All right, here we go.
All right.
All right.
You
Getting
told
better
me
at
to
this.
turn it down. I turned it up. I wanted that louder. That
Heck
was
yeah,
cool.
man. Before we move on, that's my buddy Seethe. That's his music. He plugged his song in there for the intro. I said, "Hey, man, we're a family. Plug your stuff in there, and I'll spread the word."
Seethe. I know Seethe. Well, I don't know him, but
Yeah, he gave you
I
guys
know
a
of
shout
him.
out.
I
Yeah, he
know
gave
of
you.
him.
Yeah, you guys are from the same area.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Um.
he actually asked us to do a show in February, and unfortunately, we couldn't even consider it because I was on vacation that week. So
Oh
out
man.
of the
Hey,
country. So I'm sure we'll something that'll happen at some point.
absolutely. He's gonna probably keep trying. Knowing this guy, he's a workaholic. So.
Well, yeah, we all are, but no, I see that. Like I'm following him on all the socials, and like he definitely is out there making it happen, which I appreciate immensely.
That's really cool, man, that you know who he is. Real quick, I just want to say who I'm sat down with on the Liars Pacifist podcast. Jonathan Joseph, frontman of Guides. How you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on. This is a up just started podcast back in last December, so you're episode 8, I think.
I like it. Eight is like my go-to number when I like am exaggerating something, like, oh, there's like eight of these things. It's always eight. So
Uh,
I'm happy to be number eight.
well, that's unique.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little tidbit for you.
yeah. Uh, so I guess I'll just I wing this, by the way. I don't like to write things down. I like it to flow kind of like in an organic way, you know. Kind of makes it unique for the experience and the kinds of questions I like to ask cuz I'm a music nerd, so like I just dig in there. Um so
That's how I like it.
yeah,
I like the script.
some of these will be typical questions, but most of them won't. Um, I do want to ask you, how early back did it start for you as far as music goes?
Ooh. So I actually, first of all, by the way, we didn't plan this matching.
Yeah.
This is this just happened.
Hey, when a great band comes back, it's inevitable.
Turned into a Simon Says advertisement here.
Yeah.
Um, so believe it or not, I started playing in my first band when I was like 12 or 13. Like it was like kids in my elementary school class, like we all could play an instrument, and I actually played guitar, and I had a friend who played bass, and we didn't really have a drummer, but we, kind of had a drummer, and no one really sang or could sing or wanted to sing, so we just like wrote these instrumental songs and played at like some church group event or
uh,
something. And like that was how it started, but it was like cool because like, we had like a big turnout. There was like 50 kids there or something, and like that was enough to like get a taste of like being on stage and like playing loud
uh,
music and like having that experience. So like I just kept going with it. Like I was always kind of like the younger kid in like junior high and high school, like playing in bands with the older kids
mhm.
and like trying to do stuff that always like kind of failed and didn't go very far or whatever. But so yeah, I mean, I was like, I was a teenager when I started playing in bands, so I've been doing it for like 20 years now, 20 plus years. And so it's you know it didn't really get serious until after college when I started playing in a band called Identity X which was Darren, our guitar player. That was his band. So um, that was the first like project that was actually um, you know taken seriously and run more like a business. And
Is
doing,
any of that stuff online that people could hear from that band?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Identity X, you can definitely find them on Spotify and YouTube and all of the wherever you can stream. It's definitely out there.
I definitely gonna
Check
take
it
a
out.
look.
But yeah, so that was when it got more serious for me. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for I guess over 20 years now, which is weird to say, but not much to show for it yet. So I'm just gonna keep going.
Hey, I honestly say that I love the independent underground scene for music. Like that's always where I like to go and search for bands and stuff because I feel like there's this raw, untampered with energy and drive and just passion and energy with it. And when I first heard Guides, I heard that, and I also heard like I was getting tastes of like early Finch, like what it is to burn out a Finch.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
I heard that, and I'm like, you know
yes,
what? I'm like, I could hear you guys going out with Finch.
yes,
It's
yes.
it being loved by their crowd.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you.
Yeah,
Like, that means everything for you to like pull that reference out because that's Finch is one of my favorite bands ever. So um definitely had a huge influence on the material. I would say probably more Say Hello to Sunshine than
hmm
it is to Burn, just because of the nature of it. But no, I always that's who I kind of who I want to be, right? Like I want to be the band that like could play Warp Tour, but also like play a heavier festival like an Ozfest or something. And like I feel like that's kind of the line we're trying to toe and like play both sides of that. So that's awesome. I love that you pulled that out because that's yeah, that's one
yeah.
of my influences.
I kept going back to several songs on the 5 track EP, and I'm like, you know what? Like since Finch is around right now, I mean, heck, I could picture you guys like doing an opening slot for them, like opening for their opener or something, like just like easily, like you guys have that sound, but it's not like a sound where you're like it's like a copy and paste thing. It's like here's our influence and here's how we elevate it and make it sound like our approach, like
Yeah,
what guides is,
right.
and that's I love the fact that because there's a lot of bands out there that kind of just wear their influences and they just they copy and they just I mean there's some great bands that do that. I'm not gonna crap on them or anything, but I always prefer when the influence is from that genuine place where it's more of like used it's kind of like a pun, like a guide, and then you build on it,
Yep.
so super smart on your guys' part, and it just shows your guys' level of originality and creativity that you could do that and pull it off in that way, so
Well,
I
you know how
applaud that.
like yeah, thank you for saying that. And first of all, I want to shout out our friend Jen Brandt, who's blown up the comments on here.
Yeah.
His family. What's up, Jen?
Yeah.
Um, and so uh yeah, you know how people say like, oh, well, it's been done before. It's been done before, like, and yeah, there is a lot of like rehashing of the same
uh
ideas and people kind of like writing the same song over and over again. But like, I mean, in general, I agree with that. Like, yeah, like a lot of everything kind of has been done, but like the whole idea of like like creating is to like put a spin on it, right? Or
uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely.
on it, right? So that's kind of like always been my perspective, like whatever kind of art I'm making, but especially with music, it's like, yeah, here's a template, here's an influence, like let's make a song that sounds like Finch or whatever, but like we don't even have the elements in our band to copy Finch because we only have one guitar player. So it's like we have to like take that and mold it into something that can be played by a four-piece band and that like we're gonna like be able to pull off live. And that like rawness that you talked about, like we don't use like any production like when we play live. Like it's just like us with our instruments. Like we have some like samples and stuff that we trigger, but there's no like backing tracks or anything. So like it is like more of that like older school, like more raw like approach from the early 2000s where like,
Mhm.
bands were just going out and playing.
Yeah, and you hear that. It's like to me for me, it's instantly noticeable from track 1 to track 5. So,
Yeah,
I
and like
respect the hell out of that.
we wanted to have like there was like a certain like aesthetic, to that material, right? Like it was all like it's kind of like a little darker and like kind of
Uh,
brooding and like that was the idea, like to make something that was like cohesive, right? That
mm,
like, belonged all in the same like set or like, release or whatever. And I feel like that's the if we pulled one thing off, it's that it's like there's a consistent like aesthetic to it.
yeah, absolutely. It's cohesive, but each song also kind of stands apart too. Like you pull off being cohesive, having a nice flow all through, but each song stands apart in that in the good way. Not like, oh wow, this should have been on another EP. Like everything fits perfectly. Like I am in love with Spirit Box and Parallel. Like those are my two favorite tracks off of the EP, and I can't stop listening to them over and over and over again, man.
I love that you love. I mean, thank you first of all, and I love that you love parallels because I feel like that's like the odd like of all of the out of the five tracks, that's like definitely the most experimental. It's definitely like the weirdest one. Like it's a little rough around the edges, but like I love that that one resonates for you because like that's one of our favorites and like it took us a while to kind of like figure it out live, but now like we've it's in the set now and like it's become one of our favorite songs to play because it's just like it fucking like it hits like
It does. I got to give a shout out to your guitar player too, because you say there's only one of them in your band, and he's got like a really full sound for just being the only guitar player in the band.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of that's like the writing style and technique, right? And also like everything's written and played on seven-string guitars, so like it just adds that like, fuller body sound to it and
Hmm.
um yeah, no, thank you. If they're not listening, I'll make sure that they get the message. Our guitar player Darren and Mocha, our bass player, kind of split the writing duties, but actually on when everything reverses, Mocha, our bass player, actually played all the guitars as well
Oh,
as Darren.
really?
So yeah, so we actually
Damn fine job, both of them still.
yeah, no, he definitely pulled it off, and for a while there was talk of him switching guitar or whatever, but he's too damn good of a bass player, so I couldn't let him do that.
Got to fit all the pieces where they fit best, right?
Right, yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like, I was like, you got to do what's best for the team, man.
Yeah.
No,
Uh,
it all worked out for the best, and like, Darren bringing Darren on board definitely brought a different dimension that we needed to be able to be out doing what we're doing, especially live. So like, his performance level, like his energy on stage, like his like tone and like just his experience,
mhm.
the most experience out of any of us doing this at this level. So, it's just adding him to the mix just was kind of like the missing ingredient.
It's a winning formula, man. Like I'm very excited to hear what you guys have cooking for new music. In the future to be put out. I would love catching you live.
Coming. New music's coming.
Oh man, I hope it's soon too. Like, don't rush it.
Oh no, it's
I go
so
ahead.
like we uh everything like so what is this, March 9th?
Uh,
So a year ago, like sitting here a year ago, we had like nothing planned, right? Like we had just shot our music video for Intimidation Game. Like the EP was mixed and mastered at that point. So like we were starting to plan like
uh-huh.
releasing stuff, but we had no shows planned or anything. It was just kind of like taking things one thing at a time. March 22nd ish, somewhere around there, we got a show offer from our friends in Victoria Fire, which was like a June date. So we're like, okay, cool. Like that's a good like that gives us enough time to prepare for something like that.
Mhm.
And then like the same day, a couple hours later, we got another show offer for a like a bigger festival in Pittsburgh, the Millvale Music Fest, which was a month earlier. So that like moved our timeline up like so we had
Uh-huh.
2 months and we were not show ready at that time. And we had the EP, which is only like 20-25 minutes of music. So the set though for the festival is 40 minutes. So we're like, well, we got to fill 40 minutes, and we actually also had to sign a contract for the festival that we weren't going to play any covers.
Oh.
So,
No fraud Durst.
so we had to quickly. I mean, we had been writing like for a long time, so there
Right.
was stuff like there were ideas like sitting around, but we had to quickly finish things so that we had enough material to start playing, and we had 2 months to do it. So like we've at this point, the stuff that's going to be on the next EP is mostly, written. We've been playing versions of it live, and so it's not rushed, by any means, and it's just going to be time to go in and do it soon.
Well, you're already building your following, and by the way, how's the reception been up to this point?
Well, I mean, it's been uh it's been awesome. I mean, I like again, like we've only played like I don't know 6 shows so far. Like it's not in I don't know, like I said, like a year ago at this time we had nothing planned. So
Mhm.
we were active as of like May of last year. So in like a 6 month period, we played like 5, 6 shows, and like the third one was opening for Taproot. So it was like that was like
Taproot.
everything just kind of like escalated pretty quickly, right? Like
Uh,
and we had no idea what we're getting ourselves into, right? Like we played that festival in May, and it was just like, okay, like we don't know what we have. We don't know what the response is going to be. We don't know if we can even like get through a set together. Like it's all just like, let's just see what happens. And like, the response immediately to that was like kind of mind blowing. Because like I don't know, we had like a pretty good time slot at that festival for whatever reason. Like we were like playing like a 7 p.m. So like there was a lot
oh
of
yeah,
people around, but
yeah.
there's like multiple stages, right? There's like hundreds of bands playing that weekend. So like there's people all over, and like while we're playing, like this is something I noticed while we're on stage is like people were walking by and they're like stopping and like coming in and like watching our set. And it was like I saw that like
Yeah.
inspire from the stage. And so then I was like, okay, like we definitely have something here.
Yeah.
Like, so now it's time to like, now we just gotta go. Like it, like we're in it now. It got real quick, and then like next thing we know, we got the Taproot gig, and it kind of just took off even more from there. So
I could only imagine, man. And Taproot's one of those bands that I've heard anyway is really into like mentoring the younger generation of bands that are up and coming. Like I've heard who was it that I was talking to? I think it was yeah, Taylor Roberts, their new guitar player was saying that Steven's been awesome, with him and mentoring him and giving him advice, and just he's noticed that he's like that with other bands too. Um, so I mean, it's awesome that you guys played with them, and I want to say that it was either through a Taproot comment that you commented on, or a Simon Says comment from last year that I found guides. Because I think I got a friend request either from you or I sent you one, and that's where I dug into it and seen that you were in a band, and that's when I started to like, okay, follow and check it out and listen. So I think you guys have a solid, even without doing it on purpose, like just getting your guys' name out there. And
Yeah,
then I'm gonna
we
I'm gonna plug the hell out of it myself. After this.
thank you. Thank no,
Yeah,
we can't thank Taproot enough because they've been they've been so fucking cool uh to us and with us. Like I mean we so Identity X actually had the opportunity to open for them 10 years ago, like, in a different iteration of both things. So, like,
right.
we had met them before and crossed paths and, like, been friendly with them and stuff. But, like, this time around has been, like, a whole nother, like, level of, interaction and engagement with them. And, like, it's been, um, so they've been so cool because they've been in on all of our bullshit and all of our jokes with the fraud Durst
Yeah,
character.
I love it. By the way, I think it's
So,
so funny.
like it all start. I mean, like it's funny because like Darren came up with that character a couple Halloweens ago, and like I encouraged it. I was like, yeah, like new metal's coming back. Like you can like probably get away though with like making fun of like certain things because like who cares, whatever. So
Yeah.
like, like the whole like Fred Durst and Taproot
Oh
story.
yeah, I know it pretty well. Yeah.
So like we were like, well, might as well start pranking Taproot through the Fraud Durst character because they're like not even active right now. And like that the time they weren't. Like I know Steve was working on the record or whatever, but like the band didn't have any plans at the time. So it was
Right.
like we'll start pranking Taproot, like, whatever. That'll just be funny or whatever. Well, they did find it funny, but then, like, not like a couple months later, they started announcing, like, hey, we're back. Like, we're going to start playing shows and, like, became relevant again. And then, like, I think, like, there was more, like, attention on, like, the videos that Darren was doing or whatever. But then, like, I don't know. They were like totally in on it. They brought him in on their Weird
Wow.
Tuesday podcast or whatever, and like it's just been like kind of back and forth like bullshit about that ever since.
Man, I think it's hilarious, and I've thought a couple of times when I've seen some of the footage of him doing that, like I wonder if Fred Durst has seen any of this.
I mean, I would have to think he has,
Yeah.
but like he blocks everything. Like you can't tag him
Aw.
in anything. So like, or at least he started, blocking the tags or whatever. So yeah, like I'm sure he's like seen it. I'm sure someone's like shown it to him, but like he's never responded. What we're waiting for is like Darren to get like sued or get like,
Yeah.
like some kind of like cease and desist or something.
I hope not. I mean, the
Well,
guy Fred's got to have a sense of humor by now.
well, I'm sure he has a sense of humor, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah.
But
Well,
no,
hey.
Taproot's like, those guys are so cool and like, they've been like I said, they've been gracious enough to at least have fun with us with the Fraud Durst character. And they also have been spotted rocking our t-shirts frequently, which we
That
appreciate
that's
immensely.
awesome.
And is again like the support, and love has been awesome in that regard.
Yeah. Um, excuse me. How do you I wanted to dive into this side of it too. What's your approach to your vocals and like when you write?
Cool.
Like who's some influences for you?
Well, definitely Steve from Taproot is like number one. Um, just like I mean, pretty much every like that's how I kind of what I was always kind of like copying growing up, trying to teach myself how to sing or whatever. But like especially like the I don't know if technique's the right word, but like style of screaming
Hmm.
is definitely uh very much Steve. And then like, the kind of structuring of harmonies as well. Um, but then like if not him, then definitely Nate from Finch is like, so it's kind of like a blend of the two, I think. And for all the same reasons, just like
Hmm.
the vocal attack, like some of the wordier like lyrical approaches, and but like always kind of having like never like straying too far away from like the melodic side of things too, right? As heavy as it can get. So
Hmm.
and like neither of those guys is afraid to experiment too, which, you don't want to take it too far, but like
Right.
it's always fun to, if again, it's if you're not doing that, you're not really creating or pushing any boundaries. So
Right. I agree with that completely. And I really respect the bands that don't just stay in one lane. Like, what's a good example of that? I mean, Lincoln Park is a pretty good example of that. They went out on several different, branches and styles of music for a while. And at first, people were apprehensive to it, but then they're like, well, okay, this is actually kind of cool. And, they realized and they recognized that importance to not keep themselves in a box, just for the sake of not displeasing their fan base, because artistically it should really be more about pleasing your interests more than what the fans are expecting to hear from you, so you're actually truly creating and staying true to yourself,
yeah,
taking those
like
risks.
it has to evolve, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think up to a point, like Lincoln Park, like was doing that, right? Like each one of their albums was different until it kind of all started to sound like the Transformers songs or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I get it. I mean, at that point, they had to do what was working. But um, yeah, I mean, there's very few artists in history that are able to like transcend like generations and like trends that, like it's like David Bowie and people like that who
Uh-huh.
could just like almost like morph into like a different like character and person to like follow the trends. And there's very few artists in history that are able to do that. So I mean, that's one thing. But I mean, yeah, I mean, even a band like, to me, Taproot's a band, like every one of their albums has a different, like, is an evolution of who they are. Like, they all sound like Taproot, but like they don't all sound the same either. And
Yeah, I'd
even
agree with you there.
even when they went back to like, I know like Plead the Fifth was supposed to be like, okay, we're gonna go back and try to make it sound like Gift. It like, okay, like yeah, it sounded more like Gift, but the songwriting still had that evolution of where they had like been before. So like,
Hmm.
it was a different thing. So yeah, I mean, to me, if you're not evolving and growing, like you're kind of just repeating yourself. And I get there's a market for that, but from an artistic perspective, it's not very interesting.
No, I agree, and that's why I struggle with a lot of the popular music that's out right now. It's still like all my life for the most part. It's just never been that interesting, and that reason that you just said was pretty much the biggest reason why is because you can't differentiate pretty much any of it from one genre to the next. You got country artists that are being pop artists, and you got like just that's all throughout all styles, I guess I'm saying. And it just doesn't hold your interest. And you said the word market, and there's a market out there for that stuff, but it's like it's just not my lane. It's like I want stuff like what Guides does. I want stuff like Finch. I want stuff like Simon Says, and Deftones and stuff like that, because it's just they're always looking for something different to introduce into their music because that's creating. So
Yeah,
you're always like, okay, what's coming next from these guys? And that's exciting for the listener.
I think I agree with you, and I think what kind of sucks about the way that music is consumed now and what it does to that market is it like splits it, right? Like
Uh
even a band like Spirit Box, who I love, like they're fucking awesome. They have like their releases are kind of like done in a way where like they release stuff that's definitely like specifically for rock radio. Like here's like the kind of formula song, and it's like not that it's not good, but it's like that's what that is. And then they'll like release a whole EP that's just like fucking bangers. That's like
huh.
here's for the people that want this, and it's like I, that's that's just it is what it is. Again, that's what the market dictates. But like it to what you said, it makes it hard to like fully invest in like what all of it is because it's not like this like one body of work that can like like you said, a band like Finch would have put out like Say Hello to Sunshine. It's whether you like it or not, it's a journey, through that album. And yeah, there are songs that were radio songs on there, but it all kind of fit into this like, you know,
Right. And
body of
speaking of Finch, what did you think of Back to Oblivion?
I loved it.
Me too. Yeah, I thought it was a nice mix of the early stuff and then where they were at currently as a band since they came back and tried to do the band thing again and did the touring, and they're doing that again now, which is wild because you know how the
See
story
them.
is with
I
those
can't wait to
guys.
see them. Definitely going to see them. Yeah, no, back to like, yeah, it was just like appropriate, right? Like, I don't, it's not really an age thing, but like just where they were at that point in time coming back together, it was like a mature evolution of their sound, right? Like, it
Mhm.
wasn't what it is to burn. It wasn't as extreme as Say Hello to Sunshine. It was kind of in the middle somewhere, but like also its own thing. And like when it came out, I beat the crap out of it. Like I listened to it like nonstop. So, and I definitely saw them on that tour, which was like one of my favorite times seeing them. Just like that they played at Mr. Smalls in Pittsburgh, which is a great venue, and it was just like there was like it was one of like the last like really cool like mosh pits I remember being in.
Mhm. Yeah, they're coming through Oregon, I think, in a couple of months, and I'm really wanting to catch them. But I'm also,
Bayside.
huh?
That with Bayside.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is with Bayside, and Bayside's got their new stuff coming out soon too. So it's kind of has me wondering if Finch is cooking something up that they haven't made public yet, and I'm hoping that's the case.
I would think so. Like if they're
Yeah,
gonna tour, I would think they're gonna. There's again like hate to keep using the word market, but that's what
yeah,
it is. There's a market for it. Clearly,
yeah,
there is. They dabbled with some festivals, and now they're doing a tour. So the next logical step's new music. I'm sure it's coming. I
yeah.
hope it
They,
is.
they have a whole vault of unreleased stuff that they were gonna release as a follow up to Back to Oblivion anyway. So it's yeah, it's inevitable, I'm sure.
Well, how about this? Imagine a world, and it could whether it's well, it is actually we don't have to imagine it. We're living in it, where Simon Says and Taproot and Finch are all active at
It's
the same time.
wild. Yeah. I woke up. I'll tell you a little story about the Simon Says bit. When it was in the morning, and I went onto Facebook, and um, I think, yeah, Taproot tagged Simon Says Facebook page. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, I gotta look into this, and I clicked on that, and it was them with an updated banner. They've never had a Facebook page, and it's Matt, Zach, and the two mics, and I'm like, that's all four. core original members, and then I started reading, and there's some little videos with Matt talking, and Zach talking, and they're talking about their catalogs getting put out on the streaming services, and Matt hinted at new music's being worked on, and I'm just like, I dropped my phone and I just started jumping up and down in my living room, just screaming and cheering, saying, "Simon Says it's fucking back! Simon Says it's fucking back!" And my son looks at me like, "Dad, what's going on with you?" Just kind of like looking at me like he's a little bit scared but curious too. And so I went on YouTube and I put on
Too
Blister
bad
from
you
that.
don't have that on like you didn't have that like captured on film that you like that they don't have that for content.
Yeah, I know. I told Matt about it when I interviewed him twice, and he thought it was pretty funny too. And I think he asked me if I captured that or had anything of it. I'm like, no, it was like an in the moment thing where I was just so out of my mind with the fact that like a 20 plus year dream was being realized, and I have this chance to see him live now, and just the wildest thing. It's like, am I dreaming? I was pinching myself, and I was like, I was gonna be so mad if I woke up and it was a dream, and I was just gonna like, you know,
Well,
because I'm,
you gotta thank Tom Hazard.
yeah, that's
He,
what that,
he's new metal Santa Claus.
yeah, that's what
He's
Matt
making all of
said.
our dreams come true.
Yeah, thank God. Now he's got to do the same thing for Switched.
I know.
Uh,
I've
like I
actually I've actually bothered him about that. He told me no way, it's not happening. So
Yeah, it's like, why not, man? Like, I know their singer's got his drumming gig with the band he's in now, but it's like, maybe. Uh,
yeah,
Simon
switch
Says
the
wasn't supposed to happen again either, but it did. So
no, I did we didn't talk about this on live yet, right? Like the
yeah,
Simon Says. So like I actually got to see them like back in I think it was either 1999 or 2000. They opened for Stained at this place called the Crowbar in State College. It's like this like
right.
900 cap room. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was like you know, Stained was like just like about to like break
Blow up.
like sold out show, but Simon Says was one of the openers, and like I was 12 years old, so like I knew Stained because I saw them on the Family Values tour with Limp Bizkit, but I didn't know who Simon Says was, and but like that blew me away. Like their energy, they were like jumping like 20 feet in the air, like synchronized all at the same time. Like they didn't stop moving the whole set. The singer was like crowd surfing the entire time. Like I was just like, holy fuck. That's that's what I want to that's what I want to do for a living.
Yeah, I said it backstage with you before we went live. I'm jealous of the fact that you've seen them. It's like,
Well, it was like it wasn't my first concert, but it was my first bar show, and like it that like is my like one of my first like big like rock moments. Was
right.
Simon Says
Were you gonna be catching that March 22nd show?
March 22nd.
Yeah, for Simon Says Goldfield.
Oh no, well I have a show March 22nd. We're playing with Rotting with Killers. So,
Oh, hey, how about that?
yeah, so I saw Jen Brandt call it. She's calling out Taylor Roberts in the comments, but yeah,
Yeah.
we're bringing Taylor and the boys to town in a couple weeks, 2 weeks now. They're coming to Pittsburgh to play with us. So that's where we'll be March 22nd.
Oh yeah, man, that's gonna be an awesome show. I love that Full Circle album they put out.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's good stuff.
It's
Yeah, when
so
I
cool.
interviewed him, he mentioned that the new stuff they have coming out is even better. So
I'm sure. I mean, like that he's like that. I don't know how long. I know he was like sitting on the first one for a while. So
yeah,
like
long time.
not that I've heard anything, but just knowing how much the guides material has evolved from project to project, like, you know, I believe it.
Yeah. The I don't know if you said exactly what the new stuff for guides could potentially sound like or does sound like. Could you give us a little bit of a taste or description about a song or so about maybe how it sounds, like what we could expect?
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting. I mean, it's so the this when everything reverses material is like 10 years old. Like we wrote that stuff back in like 2014 originally.
Right.
So like it was written with a different lineup. Like the original guitar player from that, at that point is well moved on. So like that it's a whole different perspective now, right? And so like um the writing style is different, but I feel like the new material it has like a more fresh feel to it. Like it has more like I think the thing, playing our stuff live that is our favorite part about our existing material is like the big hits, like, like the big dynamics. And so like, we kind of like doubled down on that, like creating those moments and like really like leaning into that stuff on the newer material. So like again, like not wanting to use a lot of production live, like making sure that, the stuff that we're writing like actually has like the right feel and hits right live. So
Right.
definitely can expect like a high energy like the whole way through and not unlike the existing stuff, but um again, different writing perspective. So it's I I keep telling people it's heavier but also more melodic all at the same time. And it's not like one song or the other, like each song, like the whole thing front to back is heavier and more melodic. And like I think like like not that we don't have like kind of like bigger choruses now, but like the choruses are going to be bigger. And like we have heavy moments now, but the heavy moments are heavier. So, like there's more screaming, I think in this, but it's still balanced, right? But it's just, when I wrote this stuff 10 years ago, like new metal wasn't cool. So I kind of went more and I strayed away from some of that, but that's what I do best. So like I'm leaning into that more on the newer material. And so yeah, it's like I said, it's heavier, it's more melodic, but like I think I think Finch, is a good reference point. Have you heard the band Fight Star? Are you familiar with them?
I love Fight Star, man. I'm way big on Fight Star. Yeah.
So Fight Star is another like to me, yeah, Fight Star is kind of like a if Finch sounded more like Taproot. So
That's a very good description of Fight Star. That's like almost a spot on description of like the kind of music they make.
yeah, and they're like very I think underappreciated. Like a lot of people don't know Fight Star. So but like yeah, that's been a huge I've been referencing Fight Star a ton writing this material. So like the heavier Fight Star stuff is kind of
That's
where we're
wild, dude. Like you're gonna have me freaking eager as hell now, knowing that Fight Star is a part of the influence for this new material. Because, like I love songs like "Waste a Moment." Like my favorite Fight Star song is actually "Mono."
okay.
Like that's like my all-time favorite jam from those guys. The way it builds up and then like the climax of that song, just like perfection to my ears.
So you
Like
know the song Tannhauser Gate.
yeah, I was about to mention it. Yeah.
So, uh, one of the songs that we're finishing now, like I've like kind of referenced that like
Mhm.
structurally and like kind of like the way they do that intro and stuff. So like that's like that like there's a tidbit of an influence that's like
That's wild.
but yeah, no, I didn't it took me a long time to get on like I didn't really I was kind of late to the Fight Star game, but like once I found out about them, I was like, this is like it like went right up to the top of my list. Like, how did I not know about this band? But um how did you feel about their like when they put out Behind the Devil's Back? Did you like that?
I want to say it's honestly some of their best. Like there's like moments like uh you're probably gonna catch on to this. I like those big songs, right? And Dive is like to me their big song on that kind of it doesn't have the same sound or not quite the same build as what Mono does, but it's that album's mono for me. You know, Behind the Devil's Back, the title track, you're gonna have to forgive me because it's maybe been a couple of months since I've listened to that record, so some of the song titles are escaping me. But it was absolutely a banging album in my opinion, and they're even doing stuff again in
Yeah.
reform. They never broke up or anything, but they're getting pre-production for their live show going, and obviously there's probably new music that's getting worked on. So I couldn't be more excited.
They're,
What was your take? What was your take on that record?
oh, I loved it because I
Yeah,
totally didn't expect them to do something like that heavy. Like
yeah,
I figured if they were gonna, because that was like a comeback album for them. So I figured if they were gonna do it, they would do something really balanced and
uh-huh.
whatever. And they just fucking came out and were just like, we're
Yeah, here's our muscles, and here's our pop singer from Bust. Well, they're more like a poppy or rocky punk kind of sound. Busted was, but I always laugh when I first heard the story about where he was from, and then when he formed Fight Star, when that stuff came out, and people were like, "This is heavy, like what the hell?" And he was screaming, and it's like, well, I mean, just because he sings that kind of music doesn't mean he couldn't do another kind of music. That's just another side of his taste or his influences.
yeah, something has to pay the bills.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love Fight Star, man. It's We have a lot in common as far as the bands we like and our views on that kind of stuff. So I find that pretty cool.
I think they wrote some of the, if not all of that record on an 8 string guitar. Like they kind of like copied what the Deftones did on,
Uh,
and so one of our new songs is actually on the 8 string too. So
Woo.
and so
That's gonna be chunky.
it's yeah, it's definitely
Yeah,
a lot of muscle.
yeah. So you're gonna be flexing your scream a whole lot more on this new stuff. Then I love your scream, by the way. When I was listening to the EP and you would scream, I'm like, okay, this guy needs to do not all the time, but more of this with future stuff because it blends really well with your melodic singing and then the transitions to the heavy parts and your screaming. Um, so
Yeah, I learned a lot about my voice, like, you know, finishing that round, like the first round of material, right? Like it was kind of my first uh serious go at like writing songs as a vocalist, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So like I learned a lot, like kind of iterating through those songs and kind of getting them to a certain point. And so like, but the thing is like you can only like evolve an idea to a certain point, and then it's like, okay, you have to move on. And
right,
so,
yeah.
like, you apply what you learn to the next batch of things. So there's a lot of learnings from everyone going into like, creating this next batch of songs. So it's it definitely will show.
I believe it. Is there not ambition, but uh, past this, I assume it's going to be another EP, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there a plan for like a full length at one point that you guys want to try and knock out?
I mean, I think that kind of all depends on like how things go and what expectations become. Like from a resource and like momentum perspective, the EP is just like what's efficient, right?
Hmm.
Like, you know, I want to get something out. Then to your point, I don't want to rush something, right? I don't want to like do it the wrong way or whatever, cut corners, but like
Right.
I want to get something out quickly. Like I want it with where we are in this grand scheme of things. If we disappear, we lose momentum. Like it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. So like we need to continue building on our momentum, and that's like an important next step for us. So like it would, in my mind, be a misstep to at this point like take the time to try to you know force out a full length album and then like if it delays it for some reason, or like we don't can't
Right.
fill that scope, like it's just like the EP is the appropriate scope for where we are, and like it aligns with like what our goals are, right? And like I think the answer to your question kind of depends on like how that next round goes, right? And like again, what's the expectation going to be at that point? And like it may never make sense to do the full length. Just to, again, like what the market shifts with that too, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
singles market, it's an EP market, it's a compilate, like whatever. So yeah, like I think personally, like from like it's something I definitely want to be able to do at some point, but like, you know,
When it
it,
makes sense.
yeah, right. And
Okay.
like, we're not gonna like sacrifice doing smart things at this point just to like say that we did an album, did a full length.
I mean, that's smart. It's being logical, sensible. I mean, so I say stay the course with that kind of thinking, because you're going to keep yourself you're not going to be overly ambitious, and it'll reflect in your music with how much care is put into it.
Well, I want yeah, I want like it, we're gonna like it's kind of like I get the appeal of the album, but like I inevitably there's going to be some filler at some point, right? So it's like
Hmm.
at this point, it's in our best interest to put out like our five best songs, right? A batch,
Yeah.
in batches or whatever, and
Yeah.
like you think about it, we do that, we put out five more songs or whatever it is, then we have 10 songs out, right? And that's an album's worth of material. We
Yeah.
can more feasibly turn around and put five more songs out the next year, and then it's 15, right? It kind of grows. But like
Yeah.
if we have to like stop and do a whole 10, 12 song album, that might take 3 years. And then what happens in between, right?
Yeah, it kind of links back to your comment about the momentum and keeping it steady,
Yeah.
not having those stagnant periods where you guys aren't really, too active on your socials or doing shows and music and such, So I think it's smart.
And there's going to be some surprises too. Like, the plan is five originals, but there's going to be some other things that like come along with that, like, while we're in the studio. So, I like it's going to be an EP plus, but like, we'll kind of have that material to kind of release and, in a way that is, that makes sense or whatever and kind of spread things out. But yeah, I mean, we're working towards that. I don't know. I had a train of thought and I lost it.
No, that's all right, man. I lose my train of thought all the time. If you went onto my YouTube and looked back through some of the interviews, I have moments just like that. I just keep it in there because it keeps it real.
Yeah. And it's like also like kind of like a budget thing too,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like, to go in and do, you know, even in a, we're pretty DIY at this point, like with how I mean, we did when everything reverses ourselves, which we're not going to do that again. But like, even to do an EP is like, it's not cheap. So like,
Well.
like you kind of have to like keep that's a perspective. And then also like making it's one thing, but then, you have to invest in the marketing and getting it heard. So like, that's a
Mhm.
whole other like part of the budget that has to be factored in. So like again, it's all about like scope and like kind of scaling the business of the bands appropriately as we grow, right? And just it's all about being sustainable at this point, right? Like if we go all in before it makes sense, it might just be over, right? So at this point,
Mhm.
like growing and maintaining sustainability as we grow. Like, I've got a day job. Like, I'm doing like this, I spend like 4 or 5 hours a day working on band stuff, but it's like, that's my like night, like when I'm
Yeah.
not sleeping and stuff. So
Yeah, I mean the podcast thing was kind of my way to step or dip my toes into the music market because I've always wanted to do music myself, but I've never had the guts to actually follow through. And I've only just posted up like this 30-second clip of me singing the verse for Burn Season's Carry On. Like I've never put anything on socials up until this point. You know, you could call it
brave,
not
man.
really.
You're brave. I won't even post myself singing covers online.
Yeah, well, I mean, heck, it's kind of that whole thing of like, I kind of don't really care for how I sound, but
None of us do.
how I
None
sound
of us do.
yeah, it's like how you sound is how you sound, and you kind of just get comfortable with it and just like accept it. Kind of one of those things. Then I stopped. I decided, stop being a baby about it and worried about how people critique it and just put something out there. So I mean, this podcast thing is my side thing that I do besides my day job too. So I totally get where you're coming from with that. It's like I do this in my spare time, creating content, talking with musicians that I, respect and have listened to and stuff. So I want to ask, how are you doing for time, by the way? You good?
I'm good.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm good.
Just at any point, if you need to, just let me know and we could wrap up.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm good, totally good.
um working for Taproot is a dream come true, I bet.
Jen's the best.
Yeah, how long you known her?
Well, when did we first was probably met at the machine shop in September for the Taproot
Yeah.
weekend. Because she wasn't working for them yet when we played the Pittsburgh show. So I think we would have met at the machine shop, and then we got to hang out in Steubenville then in December when Taproot came around, because that's about an hour from Pittsburgh. So that was an easy
Mhm.
one for us to go hang out for. So,
So she's kind of like an OG Guides fan, huh? Or supporter.
well, at this point, they're all OG supporters because we
Yeah.
don't have, it hasn't even been a year yet. So
Yeah.
everyone at this point is OG.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. I wish nothing and hope nothing but the best for you guys because you touched on it earlier when you did that festival show and you saw people coming by and then they'd stop and back up and walk into the crowd and listen to you guys. You're right. That's how you know that you've got something that people are attracted to about your music and that speaks to them. It kind of gives you that confirmation or whatever you want to call it that you're doing it the right way.
You're doing
You know,
something right. Like,
you're doing something right. You're always going to question yourself in the moment of like, I wonder if this is going to be accepted. I wonder if there's going to be any fan base or whatever you want to call it for it. Like I was kind of that way when I decided I was going to do a podcast. I'm like, well, how am I going to even get anybody on there? Well, the answer to that question is just asking, it's like sending out the message and seeing who responds. So
I,
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I mean, like that show. It was it was our first show. Like the goal was at that point to be taken seriously, right? Like I don't know. I mean, I'm completely over this now, but like one of the questions was like, are we too old like to be coming back and like doing this? Like, like if
If
my memory, well, I guess because my perspective was like 10 years before when I was doing it, I'm in my like early mid 20s, like I
right.
felt like that's what like, it was a young scene or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like 10 years later, am I like the old guy, that's just gonna be like the old guy or whatever? And so like that was like one of the things to get over.
Well, I mean, if you're too old to be doing this, then why the hell should the Rolling Stones still exist?
Well, yeah, yeah, I mean,
It's like,
I didn't really believe that, but it's still like it's still like
right,
an anxiety to get over, because
right.
yeah, I'm a huge Gavin Rossdale fan.
Oh, dude, I just saw Bush for the first time last year.
Yeah, so perfect example. That dude's in
Yeah.
his 50s and he still performs like he's in his 20s.
Yeah, my wife was blown the hell away by that. She's like, he's up there freaking jumping around and just rocking the hell out like he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
So
that's why I was so adamant that we wouldn't seen them when they came through Oregon. I'm like, I told her like, here's the bands that I won't ask permission to buy tickets to see. Bush, Simon Says if they ever came back, Seven Dust, and I'm just gonna buy the tickets because you just never know when they're gonna finally decide that time is time, right? But she's like, that's the best concert that she's ever been to was the Bush concert. It's like they played for almost 2 hours, and like the whole entire show was just him, just energy through the freaking roof, man. It's impressive to see.
I go see them every time. They come through Pittsburgh a lot, and I go every time because it's always good. And
Yeah,
it never gets old. And like he always puts on a great show. And like I said, that was kind of like my reference point. Like, well, if he can do that, then I can do this at least. And like,
yeah, yeah, man.
that part was fine. And for me, there was anxiety though because I never, well, I had before, but it was again, can I get through like a set like this as a vocalist? I don't know. Like that's a thing. And so like there's a lot of questions going into the first show. And like I said, can we get through a set together as a band? Like all of those things we didn't
Yeah,
know. It
like
felt like the stakes were kind of high with, if it wouldn't have gone well, would it have been make or break? No, but it was definitely an opportunity for us to, and I said this at the time, like we were going into it, I was like, it's an opportunity for us to like turn heads. Like that should be the goal, right? Like we should
mhm.
be ready, like we should be going into it like with that like energy. And like that's what happened, right? Like when so and then like from there it was cool because like I actually had an interaction with, so I told you before we weren't supposed to play covers, right? So
Mhm.
we still didn't, I mean, we wrote a couple songs, but we still didn't have 40 minutes. So we did slide some covers in. And like the strategy was to cover things that would people probably wouldn't know well enough to know that it's a cover. So
Right.
we do a Billie Eilish cover that we like make heavy. That's like people like it, I guess. So we keep doing
Yeah.
it. But then we covered Taproot again and again, and that was like our closer because we were like, no one's gonna know this song though. It just sounds like a guide song, so no one, whatever. And like but then like after we were done, I had like multiple people come up to me and be like, "Holy fuck, you guys played Taproot? I've never heard of a band Clever Taproot." Like, "Oh, do you guys know they're coming in August?" And I was like, "Yeah, I hope we're on that show." Like
Yeah.
like the time that we would be. And so I just like said that. Fast forward to the Taproot show in August, we end up on the bill. I walk out to play. The dude that I said that to was front row wearing his guides t-shirt.
Dude, that's awesome.
And I just like looked at him and I was like, I told you, motherfucker.
You made an impression, dude. I mean, that's like the ultimate like nod of respect and like recognition when you're in a band, like seeing that stuff.
It's been like honestly, and like like I'm it's the best part for me has been the people that we have met, the fans that we have made, and like the friends that we've made in like the last, in not even a year. Like that's been the coolest part. Like there is like I mean, in Pittsburgh, there is a much more active and cooler and supportive scene than I imagined or knew that there was. And like that's been really refreshing. And we've been like welcomed with open arms, even from like parts of the scene that are kind of adjacent that aren't even like the hard rock, part of the scene. So like that's been really like, a special thing for us. But and then like on the bigger scale, like the whole like new metal community, like including yourself, that has like is starting to like, I guess, like, like welcome us in or whatever. Like it's just so cool like that exists, and that's like, something we get to be a part of, and that's been our favorite part is like everyone that we're meeting along the way and the relationships that are coming along with that.
Yeah, hell, man, hell yeah, man. That's one of my goals with this is I wanted to. I am looking to try and interview, bigger bands as well, but more of a goal is speaking with the little guy. I want to. I
That's
want to.
us, for sure.
Right. I just want to get the names out there and get them the exposure that's deserved. Because that's all part of growing your name and your brand, as much as it is the band putting in work, getting the name out there and all that stuff. There's also that job of the fan base as far, there used to be the street teams, back
Yeah.
in the day. And technically that's still something that exists, and that's part of why I do this is I want to be like, I don't know if the right word is spokesperson or not, but I just want to get the names out there and help grow, guides or, riding with killers. I interviewed Aaron from Gemini Syndrome. I
Cool.
want to get the name. I mean, Gemini Syndrome is not small time necessarily,
No,
but
no.
you know what I mean though. It's
Yeah.
just it's what I want to do. I want to get the name out there. I want to get uh I just want to be part of growing, bands.
Well, and dude, like we can't thank you enough for doing it
Yeah.
because like, uh that at for a band like us, that's the exposure and that's the support that we're counting on and that we need. And like I've been so impressed, like, and surprised, like pleasantly surprised with like that again, that support system even exists, right? Like there are people out there that care about bands like us, to have these conversations or to share our content and repost it with their
Hmm.
audience, or like, we have supporters in the Pittsburgh area that have like radio shows and apps that like stream our music and like other local bands' music, for free, and like providing these like services for free that are like all, just to support us, and it's like just because they care, right? And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a
uh
thing. And like again, like it's been like the most surprising thing about this for me is like I thought we were just doing it because we were bored and we wanted to like, I guess, not be like feel too old or whatever. And now it's like, no, like people actually care about what we're doing. So like
yeah.
just that much more reason to like do it and like do it the best that we possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's funny about fate or destiny, if you believe in stuff like that, is that whatever plan there is, comes with surprises like this, and just like things you wouldn't expect to come from it or that you do hope come from it. So, I hope things like this keep happening for guides, and the growth keeps coming, and you guys get to the place that you want to get, whether it's being an, touring the whole United States on, big tours, getting on the big festivals and just big bill tours and stuff. Like I want all that for you guys. Um, and I hope it all comes, because you definitely deserve it. You've got the winning formula, in my opinion. Formula. I don't know if that's even the right word. Winning sound, or I
Yeah,
don't
it's a
know.
formula, it's chemistry. It
Yeah,
definitely is. Like
yeah.
not like because like that was the thing. Like when we reformed, we went through like a guitar player and like and we tried some different like versions of a lineup before we um you know, landed on what we have, and it was like this is what works, and there's a reason why it works. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, the chemistry is important, and the people are important, and the relationships are important, and like, it's man, when you're in a band, like you're basically in a relationship with each one of the people, however many
Uh-huh.
people are in the band, and like I'm the one that manages everything, and so it's like managing different, the relationships are all different, right? So it's like you have to kind of deal with that, like how you have to deal with it, and it's it's
Yeah.
there's
It's a lot of work.
a
It's
lot of
no
dynamics to it,
Yeah,
and so
it's
it's
no
like
small thing at all. It's There's a lot that goes into it. It's like, not that I would know, but I know through.
scheduling, and like I
Yeah,
said, we all have serious jobs and stuff at this point still,
yeah.
and like none of us have kids yet, and none of us are married yet, so like it's not, like we have, like it's not like to like the extreme, but like we are adults that have commitments and responsibilities, so like we have to work around all of that stuff, and so we do it, it's not that bad, like our schedule is pretty consistent, like we have things pretty well figured out at this point, but
Hmm.
you get busier, and then you have to keep figuring out how to do more things with less time. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how the growing pains of it.
Growing pains are so much fun. um, well, I'm gonna have to get the kiddo lunch, so probably should be wrapping this up. Not that I want to. Like, it's going amazingly, and you're fun. You're awesome to chat with, man. Like, honestly. Um,
Yeah, well, anytime, man.
Yeah,
We do it.
yeah, we you could be on as many times as time allows and that you feel, man. Like, I'll do this 5, 10, 20 times. Like, there's no limit to the amount of times that, this can be done. It's limitless in my head. So,
Well,
I forgot. I
once we get closer to like putting new stuff out or something, and have something like big going on, we'll figure something out once there's
ab-
something to more talk
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I meant to put it in like somewhere on this. I should have put it in my, like, let me get that off of there. The thing in my liar's past is like your website and all that. You want to name drop your website and where people could find you, like, Apple Music or Spotify or anything?
Yeah, so we're pretty much everywhere. Our website is guidesmusic.com. Um, you can find us Instagram, Guides Official. Um, that's probably where we're most active, but you can also find us on Facebook and Spotify. Our music's on Spotify and Apple, and anywhere, all of the major streaming platforms. Anywhere you can stream, you can probably find it. And if you can't, let us know. We'll point you in the right direction.
Alright. Awesome. Again, this is Jonathan Joseph from Guides that I've talked to today. Amazing band, awesome frontman, awesome individual. I wish nothing but the best for your guys' career. And hopefully, I could catch a live show if you come through Oregon at any point.
Hopefully
But
someday.
yeah, either way, I'm here and I'm going to spread the word. And you're free to post this up on your guys' Facebook or anywhere else. I could try and get some little snippets made up and send to you to distribute to wherever you want it to go. And again, this has been awesome. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, dude. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much for all the support for guides. And we'll definitely do it again. And appreciate
Absolutely.
everything. Thanks for everything you're doing for the scene and for new metal. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. You have a good day, man.
Thank you. You too. Take care.